have low vision, or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org. You're probably tuning in right now for Sports Illustrated. If you listen after this reading, you'll hear Sports Illustrated at 9 p.m. on Saturday, its new home, as Wall Street Journal's Off Duty section takes over at 8 p.m. Stay with us for this reading and many more.
This is Patricia Mary, and for the next hour, I will be reading from the Saturday, Sunday, May 16th, 17th issue of Off Duty from the Wall Street Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. From the front page of Off Duty, a fashion selection: How to Dress for the Upcoming Tennis Grand Slams, a style guide to having home court advantage, whether you're in Paris, London, or New York. And this is by Sam Schwabe. Tennis is booming. Last year's U.S. Open was the best attended in tournament history, according to its organizers, and the U.S. Tennis Association has reported that more than 27 million players in the U.S. picked up a racket in 2025. But as you may have seen on your social media feeds, the sport's popularity goes far beyond weekend warriors. The Grand Slams have become catnip for luxury brands, social media influencers, and celebrities, all of whom appear eager to see and be seen on the grounds. People aren't just watching tennis anymore, says Rachel Stuhlman, a tennis content creator, correspondent, and consultant. They're experiencing it, and tournaments have become social and cultural events. While A-listers have long treated the Grand Slam as a chance to dress up, fans are embracing the opportunity too, says Paige Lorenz, a content creator and the founder of the apparel brand Dairy Boy, who spent the last few years attending tournaments to root on her fiance, the American tennis star Tommy Paul. You don't need to be in a suite to feel like you can dress up for the matches, which I think is really cool. But you weren't to wear the same outfit to prim and proper Wimbledon as you would be to the comparatively no holds bar US Open. With the French Opening kicking off next week and Wimbledon and the US Open to follow, we convened a panel of tennis style experts to break down the dress codes for each tournament and to dig into the style tribes you'll want to join this summer. Okay, this is for the French Open. Parisian ease. Much like any time you go to France, you are trying very hard to be as chic as the locals, says Caitlin Thompson, the founder of tennis magazine Racket. Anyone who's been to France knows that's trickier than it sounds, but easy tailoring and neutral colors are a safe bet for men and women. Lorenz takes inspiration from the distinctive on-court look of tennis's only clay Grand Slam. I find that the clay is a bit more casual in general, she says. A good pair of denim and a linen blazer over that would be really cute. Whites also look good with clay. Practicality is important too. First and foremost, I'm thinking about sun protection, says James Harris, co host of the men's fashion podcast Throwing Fits. He bought an outdoorsy sun hat, complete with a neck covering curtain, for his trips to the U.S. Open and Roland Garros this summer. But don't fret if you leave yours at home. Thompson called the straw hats the tournament sells as part of its merch offering exquisite. Anything else you can find on site works too, she says. Their house merch has long been so far ahead of anyone else's. For Wimbledon, what to wear? Old school heritage. The name of the game at Wimbledon is tradition. The tournament, held at London's All England Lawn Tennis and Racquet Club, still has this old fashioned formalness that makes it feel special, said Amanda Greeley, founder of the tennis apparel brand Spence. And while the club doesn't have a formal dress code for spectators, Wimbledon is the rare sporting event where it's not uncommon to see men in neckties and women in floral dresses. And like cricket sweaters worn ironically, Thompson joked, temperatures can soar during Wimbledon, which runs from late June to early July, but the experts advise leaving your moisture wicked fabrics at home. If there's a dress code, I respect the dress code, Harris says. A black tie wedding in the summer, you're like, oh man, I'm going to be hot. But then everyone looks fantastic. The U.S. Open is loud luxury. The American Slam closes the tennis calendar, and the August September tournament has a way of feeling like a party, thanks in part to the goodies like the signature Honey Deuce cocktail. It feels kind of like you're at Coachella in Queens, Harris says, which means that fans wear just about everything. The U.S. Open is reflective of the diverse melting pot that is New York City when it comes to style, says Jessica Schiffer, who writes the tennis newsletter Hard Court. You see people showing up in everything from the Row to Sandy Lang. Loren sometimes likes to conjure up a tournament specific muse. For the U.S. Open, she likes the Ox tennis icon, Anna Koronova, complete with a little bit of exposed torso. Not entirely out of place in Queens, says Stuleman. You do see more crop tops at the U.S. Open than at any other tournament. She suggests taking covered midriff inspo from the black outfits Maria Sharapova and Serena Williams wore in their peak evening matches at Arthur Ashe. Bare midriff or not, Schiffer suggests bringing a layer if you're sticking around for the night session. You show up and it's like boiling, and then by night you're freezing. When in doubt, reach for a tennis bracelet. At Brother Varelli's founder Aurora James says, if you just put on a wonderful white t-shirt and some pants and some diamonds, I mean, that is perfect. Here's an interesting one. Is the secret to men's longevity a great gut? Famous and powerful men have discovered that the key to a long, healthy life may be rock solid glutes. And this is by Chevy Lieber. Daniel Rice is a personal trainer in Los Angeles, a job that gives him a front row seat to the physique coveted by today's American men. Rice recalls the washboard abs of the 90s, the athletic build of the early 2000s, the quest in 2010s for tiny waists and huge biceps. Now, the guys all want thick thighs and a bigger butt, he says. It's become a glute dominant culture. For $200 a session, Rice says he can take clay, a rear end that's never been sculpted, and turn it into a mountain. Some of this is to look more desirable, he says, but more often than not, his clients are focused on health and longevity. He has them doing hip thrusts, banded side lunges, goblet curtsy squats, and cable kickbacks. Also the Stairmaster, especially as men age. I tell my clients, as long as you can climb a flight of stairs, you can have sex. Walk into any high-end gym right now, and it will be hard not to spot those training their glutes. Equinox says male bookings of its best fun but ever class has increased 17% since 2024. Lifetime, the high-end health club chain, affirms an uptick in its glute-centric classes. Men who train with the Whoop app have doubled their booty exercise over the past 24 months, according to the company. And the Whoop app is spelled WHOOP. Dog Pound, the elite personal training gym where Taylor Swift got in shape for her Eras tour, recently added more glute building machines to its Los Angeles location because trainers said their clients wanted more of them. The gym's owner, Lily Gettin, says. Bulgarian split squats, Romanian deadlifts. I'm learning a new phrase every day, says Jake Villages, a model and content creator in New York who hopes that building his glutes will open doors to more modeling opportunities. He's put on 15 pounds of muscle in the past year and does lower body training 3 times a week. It's brutal, but it's a good pain, Villages 26 says. The body's largest muscle group is increasingly understood to be the foundation of physical strength and well being. For the man who wants to live forever, few assets are more sought after. Jay Fergila, a personal trainer in Los Angeles who specializes in training the high achieving man over 40, says it's a status symbol and a badge of honor for men to have fit legs and strong glutes in midlife. It's a terrible look to have a pancake ass aesthetically, says Fergoa, and so guys are making their upper backs and glutes their top priorities. If you see someone in their 40s, 50s, and glutes are developed, it's a sign of longevity. In case you haven't noticed, and surely you have, it's become table stakes for leading men, to flash a perfectly chiseled derriere on screen. Kit Harington had his shower scenes in industry. So did Sterling K. Brown in Paradise. Barry Coghlan danced naked in Saltburn. Alexander left little to imagination in the BDSM comedy Pillion. Patrick Schwarzenegger revealed his backside and then some in The White Lotus. Paul Anthony Kelly flashed some cheek while skinny dipping as John F. Kennedy Jr. in Love Story. The expectation weighs heavily on the industry. It's why Carson Zone is at the gym every Monday and Friday, grunting into weighted hip thrusts and pushing through heavy staggered lunges. I know the time to show my ass on screen will come, the 30-year-old working actor says. I want to be ready for it. At Hymet, a elite private gym in Hollywood that costs around $350 a month, Zone has exercised along a full roster of male celebrities burning out their glutes. Shameless actor Cameron Monaghan going heavy on curtsy squats in a hit class. TikToker Noah Beck, who was recently cast in the Baywatch TV series reboot, clobbering flights on the stair machine. Glute envy hit a fever pitch in November when heated rivalry actors Connor Story and Hudson Williams entered the chat. The day after the racy hockey romance hit HBO Max late last year, every single glute machine was taken at the Lifetime in Brooklyn's Dumbo neighborhood, says Trent Ellsworth, a marketing professional. Everyone is training for a hockey buck, Zone says, one that gives you those dimples when it's squeezed. He says he aims to eat 3 portions of meat a day, often trekking to Costco to buy it in bulk. Between groceries and supplements, Zone is dropping serious cash to project an image of health and success. You're trying to be hot, smart, and rich. Mario Ganello, a behavioral therapist in Chicago, was so inspired by heated rivalry that he incorporated stories suggested elevated kettlebell squats into his routine. A TikTok Arnello made about the endeavor hit over 900,000 views. I feel it's in all the right places, Arnello, 26, says. Booty boot campers and Pilates princesses have been building their muscles for years. Men are just starting to catch up. On a social media, fitness experts like Brett Contreras, whose first 2 books were especially for women, and Mark Carroll preach the gospel of glutes to their armies of male followers. Robert F. Jr. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. loves to go heavy on leg presses. Within health and biohacking circles, there's a growing discussion on how glute strengthens impacts longevity. You do see temporary increases in hormones like testosterone and growth hormones with resistance training, especially when larger muscle groups are involved, says Dr. Benito, a longevity specialist and media director at the LA clinic Evolve Anti-Aging and Wellness. The bigger story is metabolic and cellular signaling. He adds, you're improving how the body handles glucose, how it uses energy, and how it maintains muscle over time. Ashley Borden, a strength coach, tells her clients that strong butt muscles are bulletproofing your body against a bad bod. The dreaded middle aged physique is what happens when you lose your ass and everything moves to your stomach, she says. Adam Draws, co founder of the brand marketing agency Welker Draws, is one of the personal trainers Rice clients in LA. On top of the bench squats, step ups, and leg lifts he does during his session, he spends $1,600 a month on 5 different peptides, unapproved injectable drugs that Secretary Kennedy has vowed to loosen restrictions on. Dawes says a longevity doctor prescribed them for him. I put in 15 years to get where I am. Dawes, 45, says, I want to keep it that way. Robert Thompson, an LA trainer who works with celebrities and CEOs, says his clients regularly do body scans and visit longevity clinics. They're now trying to offset the years they spent at the office, he says. They already have the standing desks, the treadmill walks, but the scans and assessments help them realize they need to strengthen their lower body, Thompson says. For the business elite, it's not about aesthetics, Thompson says. It's about moving better for the next 20 to 30 years. Knee issues, hip issues, posture. 9 out of 10 times the glutes are weak. Middle-aged men who've hopped on the glute train say there's no way they're getting off. Thomas Chow, a managing partner at the law firm Morris Forrester, spent much of his 30s and 40s doing yoga, hiking, and training his upper body. Since he started building his legs and glute muscles 2 years ago, the LA resident says his posture has improved and he's never been more agile. I've transitioned from the guy who walks around the lake to someone who runs around the lake, Chow, 53, says. David Schwartz, co-founder and principal of New York City real estate developer Slate Property Group, does lower body strength training 3 times a week at Dog Pound in New York City, where the cheapest membership goes for around $8,000 a year. During a typical session, he does supersets of barbell hip thrusts, planks, and walking lunges with 30-pound dumbbells. The first minute is easy, he says. The second minute is torture. Time is money for executives like Schwartz. The 49-year-old says lower body training is more of the bang for your buck. You engage your full body and it has cardio benefits. The results showed when he recently played tennis with someone around 20 years his junior. I had more stamina than he did. You are listening to the reading of articles and features from Off Duty from the Wall Street Journal on the Negative Frontier Radio Reading Service. Here's an article about books. 8 tips for pulling off a career change from a best-selling author. The romance novelist Carly Fortune went from being unhappy at her 9 to 5 job to selling millions of books. Here's her guide to starting over. And this is by Ellen Gamerman. How do you reinvent your career? First, wake before dawn. Before she was a best-selling romance novelist, Carly Fortune had never so much as written a short story or taken an adult creative writing class. The writer, 42, spent decades working 9 to 5 in journalism as an editor. When she started the Canadian operation for Refinery 29, a media company for young women, she thought it was her dream job. But after she and a colleague were denied raises in 2020, the final setback in a string of frustrations, she started looking for a plan B. I'll write a book, Fortune vowed that summer, and I'll finish it by the end of the year. She kept her project a secret from most people to protect herself from their skepticism. Every day she rose at 5 a.m. to write before work. Soon a love story took shape. When she finished every summer after, the manuscript sparked a bidding war between publishers. She sold the novel for more than $500,000 in a 2-book deal and left journalism for good. The novel became a book talk phenomenon and sold more than 1 million copies. A series adaptation renamed Every Year After arrives next month on Prime Video. Her second book, Meet Me at the Lake, is in development by Netflix and Archwell Productions, the venture started by Prince Harry and his wife Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. Netflix recently announced a 10-episode series adaptation of her third novel. This summer will be different. All told, her books have sold 4.7 million copies in 35 languages. After releasing a book a year, her fifth is out this week. In Our Perfect Storm, childhood best friends Frankie and George go on a platonic honeymoon after Frankie's fiance dumped her at the start of their wedding weekend. At a romantic spot on Vancouver Island, George creates an itinerary to heal Frankie from heartbreak. But amid the ocean mist and old growth forests, things don't go as planned. Here, Fortune also lives with her husband and 2 children in Toronto, offers 8 tips for a professional restart. Whether you're writing books, learning a new trade, or starting a business. First one is begin with a concrete goal. Setting benchmarks will break an overwhelming undertaking into actionable steps. In the summer of 2020, Fortune calculated that she could complete an 80,000-word manuscript by the end of the year if she wrote 488 words a day. She ended up beating her deadline. Number 2, find a believer. When a trusted person recognizes your potential, take the encouragement to heart. She got a jolt of confidence from Christine Arbridge, a co-founder and former editor-in-chief at Refinery 29. The company is now under different ownership. She said to me, I think you have stories in you, and I think you need to write. That permission from Christine opened things up for me. While pregnant with her second son, she took Christine's advice and around Mother's Day wrote a letter to the daughter she would never have. The thought exercise sparked her entry into fictional writing. Tune out the naysayers, especially the naysayer within. Learn to quiet the critical voices of others and yourself. By the time Fortune started working on her second book, she convinced herself the first one was a fluke. The negative self talk was very loud, she said. She struggled to write the novel, taking 8 months. After her editor sent 11 pages of feedback and issued a 2 month deadline for an overhaul, Fortune forgave herself for not getting a gold star on her first draft. It felt like, okay, I didn't do it perfectly this time, but I'm just going to keep plugging at it. Be ready to jump. Opportunity doesn't always follow your timetable. Fortune's life shifted happened all at once. A bundle of change that included a new fiction writing career, her second baby, and a move to a new home. You have to embrace it when it happens, she says. Search for a neutral sounding board. A person with distance from your situation can help break familiar cycles and put things into perspective. Fortune started seeing a therapist while at Refinery 29. I had my dream job and I was very unhappy. And so I think having somebody who was not a spouse or a friend, but an impartial party to talk about that with was really key. My entire identity and creative fulfillment came from work. I needed to find space to get to know myself outside of that. Consider the risk of inaction. Be cautious is not a guarantee of safety. Even though leaving the career she built felt uncomfortable, staying put didn't feel much better. I had never felt secure in my job, Fortune said. After realizing that the status quo can be perilous as a swan dive into the unknown, she bet on herself and made that leap. Be pointlessly creative. Engaging your imagination just for the sake of it can reduce stress and liberate you from perfectionism. It doesn't matter if there's no audience for it. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Fortune says she paints with watercolors, just little ways to use the creative side of your brain. Create a vision board for your aspirations, even if only in your head. Make time to reflect on how far you've come and envision the future. At the end of every summer, Fortune goes to her lake house, a place where she feels most like herself. She stops everything, sometimes for as little as 15 minutes, to lie down on the dock and close her eyes. It's a time to dream and reflect. Here's an interesting article. I started a business at 67. It has been much better than retiring. So many of my retired friends are bored, but I'm constantly learning new things and meeting new people. This is by Daniel X. My late father-in-law loved orchids, and in his decades-long passion, he built and maintained two large greenhouses. At an age when most people were retired or worse, he was still breeding new hybrids, knowing fully well that they wouldn't blossom for years. He wasn't a man to sit idly in death's anteroom, waiting for the grim reaper. I take heart from his example when I wonder in moments of doubt or exhaustion, why in the world I have launched a demanding business in what otherwise might have been a leisurely dotage. In some ways, the nature of our undertakings is similar. Mine is a publishing venture, but I was more motivated by the flowers, which is to say, the books we bring forth, than by any prospect of financial gain. Some of these flowers are years away, yet I look forward to them not just with anonymity, but excitement. Starting a business is a lot of work, but for an older entrepreneur, that can be more of a feature than a bug. Some of my friends retired from impressive careers now find themselves bored or underoccupied. Meanwhile, I deal with a continual barrage of challengings, great and small, most of them welcome. People assume that I'm the one keeping my little business going, but the opposite is probably equally true. As busy as you want. Starting a business in retirement may sound like an oxymoron, but the idea has quite a few virtues. First of all, it's up to you if you want to do it. You don't have to apply for a job, and you needn't worry about age discrimination unless you plan to fire yourself in favor of someone younger and cheaper. You can decide for yourself whether to keep things small and casual or build yourself a modest empire. Either way, you'll be just as busy as you want to be. If your spouse is retired, here's your chance to work together. Marriages are themselves a kind of shared enterprise, but they thrive on collective projects such as children, a house, a dog or two, or a mutual passion for medieval music. My sense is that spouses often have shared interests and complementary skills, which can make for great business partnership. There's another good thing about a retirement business. It doesn't really need to make money as long as it doesn't lose much. In the case of my publishing venture, I considered launching it as a not for profit, but I didn't want a board or anyone else telling me what to do. Running it as a business means that you have skin in the game and an easy way to keep score, even if remuneration isn't the primary goal. Whether you make money or not, your business will still deliver all kinds of additional benefits. For instance, nothing could be more educational. Even though I've written about lots of businesses in my career, I was astonished when I launched one of my own at the age of 67 to discover the range of tasks and skills involved in running a small enterprise. You may think you're a book publisher or a soap maker or a dealer in vintage telephones, but inevitably you're also a bookkeeper, a shipping clerk, a marketing specialist, and a navigator of government regulations, and education in tech. Running a business will also require that you keep up with the times, something not all of us old timers are instinctively inclined to do. Technologies that once seemed daunting will become more appealing when you have business problems they can solve. And trust me, whatever line of business you embark upon, you'll probably find you've got to get better at using Microsoft Excel. Nearly everybody knows or ought to know that sociability is an important element in a happy retirement, just as it is in a happy life. Well, a small business is inherently social, and this has proved one of the greatest satisfactions of my little enterprise. Indeed, my strong advice if you are considering starting a retirement business is to look for something that puts you in touch with people. At the very least, you'll need to cultivate customers, and if you're lucky, you'll also make some friends. It doesn't hurt that lunch or drinks with business associates or customers can be a tax deductible expense. Publishing books is great fun, and success, however modest, are thrilling. Keeping up with all the work can be overwhelming at times, but it helps if one's business is one's passion. And surely it is better to be consumed by purpose than lost in aimlessness. Much to my surprise, my publishing venture is going well enough that I have wondered at times what will happen to it when I'm gone. I suppose I shouldn't care, but I do, and that is another of its virtues, for what is living without concern for the future? I wish I had started this venture years earlier, but I was busy earning a living and writing books of my own. Now our children are well launched, and my wife, a passionate lifelong reader, has time to help. Old age, subsidized by Social Security and Medicare, turn out to be an ideal opportunity for a stunt like ours, and never mind the nearness of the end. All of life is lived in the shadow of mortality. Humans have always thrived there, and starting a business can help. You're listening to the reading of articles and features from Off Duty from the Wall Street Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. From the style page, is honey having a beauty moment? Beauty brands trying to solve for inflammation and sensitive skin turn to one of the oldest ingredients, and this is by Fiorella Balasolo. The benefits of honey are ingrained in Gabrielle Merkin as a child growing up in New Zealand. Manuka honey is the medicine of choice for every Kiwi kid, says Gabrielle, referring to a type of honey native to New Zealand and parts of Australia. You have a sore throat, a cough, a tummy ache, your mom gives you Manuka honey. You fall and scratch yourself, it's Manuka honey that gets put on the wound with a band aid on top. Merkin eventually co-founded Activist, a brand devoted to topical and ingestible Manuka, with her husband Luke Harwood. The product highlights Manuka's purported immunity benefits, but also the ingredient's potent skincare potential. Honey, found in most pantries, is stepping into the beauty spotlight thanks to Activist and Anu, another buzzy brand that has already made its way into treatments offered by celebrities like Elizabeth Grace Hand in New York and Cynthia Marie Franco in Los Angeles. Honey's status as a prized skincare ingredient dates back centuries. Legend has it Cleopatra bathed in donkey milk and honey to soften and smooth her skin. Today, it's still touted as a natural way to cleanse and soothe the skin. And unlike other driven natural ingredients, doctors and estheticians say honey lives up to its skincare claims. Honey is a humectant, so it helps to draw moisture in and boost hydration, says Dr. Marissa, a New York City and New Jersey based dermatologist. It also has anti inflammatory properties, which can help to calm redness and irritation, and antioxidants, which can help protect the skin against environmental stressors. While all kinds of honey, like clover, wildflower, and raw, can be used on the skin, Manuka stands out for its antimicrobial benefits. Gabrielle says it's because its higher levels of a compound called methylglycol, making it especially good for wound healing and acne prone skin. Manuka honey sits in a rare category where a natural ingredient behaves like a clinical active, offering antimicrobial, anti inflammatory, and barrier repair benefits all in a single step, says Cal Strauss, a Manhattan based esthetician and founder of Strauss Studios. I have been putting my acne clients on it for a decade, especially during the winter, because it's not easy to find a thick wound healing product that won't clog your pores and also treats breakouts and dryness. The antibacterial activity in Manuka is roughly 100 times more potent than any other honey, says Jen Krause, founder of Anu, which is showing up on shelves at cult favorite beauty spots like Knockout Beauty, ONDA, and the spa at the Hotel Chelsea. Stoused herself is a fan. I wash with the Anu, and it's spelled AUNU, cleanser, every day, and my acne-prone skin has been thriving, especially since I use a lot of active ingredients in my daily routine, she says. Honey popularity is partly a response to the rise of harsher active ingredients. Krauss says the skin is becoming increasingly sensitized to factors like environmental pollution and multi step routines. With all these 10-step routines and exfoliation and cosmetic treatments, people have really worn their skin down, she says. Shop the story. There's an Anu Maca essence. It costs $110. This silky essence is touted as deeply hydrating and lightweight. There's the Activist Manuka Honey Mask, which sells for $75. This dense honey mask can also be used as a cleanser and a spot treatment. Now there's the Guerrillan Abriel Royale Youth Watery Oil Serum, which is pricey at $160. And this iconic French brand sources the honey for this velvety golden nectar from a rare breed of black bee. Then there's the May Lindstrom Skin, the Honey Mud, which sells for $95. New York facialist Cynthia Rivas is now using this pudding-like combination of raw organic honey, silver, and white clay in her signature treatments. Then there's the Pharmacy Beauty Honey Halo Ultra Hydrating Ceramide Moisturizer, and it sells for $48. And a moisturizer packed with buckwheat honey and ceramides promising smoothing hydration. Then there's the Flamingo Estate Manuka Honey Soap Brick, which sells for $58. It has hemp oil and shea butter emulsified Manuka moisturizing properties in this substantial bar soap. Then there's the Manuka Honey Whipped Oil, sells for $75, and a cream oil hybrid packed with Manuka honey and jojoba oil. Then there's the Ginsu Honey Infused Lip Oil, which sells for $28 at Sephora. A bit of shimmer plus hyaluronic acid and honey sourced from the founder's family bee garden. And there's the beauty of the Joseon ground rice and honey glow mask, and it sells for $18. A gentle mask made with extras from traditional Korean rice wine, rice hull powder, Kaloan clay, and honey promises to brighten and smooth, and it sells for $18. Then the last one is the Eternal Renew Eye Serum with Bee Venom, and this is from Manuka Health, and it sells for $106. Potent Manuka honey, royal jelly, and bee venom purports to hydrate and brighten the delicate eye area. This is from the food and drink page. On the hunt for ramps, spring's most coveted ingredient. For a few weeks every spring, ramps, RAMPS, appear on restaurant menus across the country as if by magic. Here's where they come from and what to do with them should they end up in your kitchen. And this is by Adam Chandler. Earlier this month, while Cinco de Mayo revelers were swan diving into pitchers of margarita, a few dozen diners gathered in Brooklyn, New York, to celebrate a more wholesome annual rite, the arrival of ramp season. Ramps obviously are very special because for us here in the Northeast, it's the first sign of spring, says Delphin Janala, the executive chef and co-partner of Eland Eating and Drinking House. For his ramp-themed dinner, Janala put together a 5-course tasting menu to showcase versatility of the allium, ALLIUM, in the same family as garlics, leeks, and onions. Dishes included ramp pesto focaccia, trout crudo with pickled ramps, and farfalla topped with ramp crema. A ramp Gibson, a riff on the martini, came with a pickled ramp garnish instead of a pickled onion. In a national food culture full of passing fads, the annual excitement generated by ramp season has endured in a way that sun-dried tomatoes or bacon-topped everything hasn't. Part of its lasting popularity has to do with what ramps makes them unique. To start, ramp season is incredibly short, lasting just 3 to 6 weeks, typically from late March through May. People love ramps for their distinctive flavor profile, savory, funky, intense, but also their versatility. The great thing about the ramp, Jarnella says, is that while it has its own specific flavor, it's going to eat much like a spring onion. What average diners don't see, however, is that ramps are also exceptionally hard to source. Largely harvested in the wild by foragers, something surreptitiously on a private land in the Northeast and Midwest, they make their way to grocers. Fresh ramps often sell for over $30 a pound, more than filet mignon or live lobster. Food professionals from haute cuisine down to trend-savvy sandwich shops tend to be cagey about where they get their ramps. When I asked Jaranello about where his ramps come from, he says, the short answer is that I have a guide. Coveted and converted. Ed Newton, a Philadelphia-based photographer, entered the sub rosa world of the ramp hunt when he set out with several foragers this spring. People are very secretive about their ramp spots, he says. From Philadelphia, he traveled to groves and foraging sites deep in the remote wood sides of an eastern Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey. He and other foragers followed tips from other ramp collectors or set out to find well-shaded stream beds where ramp patches tend to flourish. On an off-day hike, Newton and a forager friend had to spring into action when a restaurant called with an order for 5 pounds of ramps to be delivered the next day. Where foragers occasionally involved ducking under no trespassing signs in this case, the pair found their bounty alongside a set of train tracks. Among the foragers roaming the woods every spring, you're likely to find a chef or two. It's a beautiful spring ritual to engage with, says Ana Caballero, the chef de cuisine at Her Place Supper Club in Philadelphia, which has an ever-changing seasonal menu. I can go out and cut off a couple hundred or even thousands of dollars during ramp season because I've done it myself, just purchasing them. Anna also spoke of a ramp code among foragers built on trust and stewardship. It's unofficial, but if someone shares their ramp patch with you, you want to make sure that they're being respectful and taking that on and using it responsibly, making the most of a short season. Thankfully, the chefs are much more open about sharing cooking tips than foraging locations. Any recipe that has scallions or spring onion or something like that, you can totally swap it out with ramps, says Jaranella. Many chefs and home cooks will incorporate ramps into pesto or mayonnaise. You can make a salsa verde or a chimichurri out of it, he added, noting that the ramps also pair well with proteins like beef and chicken as well as fish and pork. Even as ramps threaten to become more popular outside of the typical foodie circles, Leon isn't hosting the only special ramps theme menu in the country this spring. To true believers, they will never become passe. There's kind of a joke within the chef world here on the East Coast that ramps are overrated, says Caballero. But I'm always the first person to say, no, they're not overhyped. They are that good. Ramping up the repertoire. Chefs share their favorite tips for taking advantage of ramps in your home kitchen. For a simple side dish, focus on the tops of the ramps. Carbonello says the best approach is to treat them like spinach. Sear them in a pan with the tiniest bit of olive oil and they will wilt. Giranello likes incorporating ramps into his sauces. You can make an alloy very easily or a beret blanc, similar to the ramp beret mont he used to top a roasted white fish. Combine ramp bulbs and any variety of pickling spices in an airtight container, and your ramp season will last several months. When seeking out ramps at a grocer or farmer's market, look for firm bulbs and bright green leaves. If dirt shows on the root, it's fine, but similar to scallions, avoid the ones with slime. To keep your hull from wilting quickly and limit their strong smell, wrap them lightly in a damp paper towel inside an airtight container or resealable bag in your refrigerator. Another article from the Food and Drink: Why Gen Zers love boy, kibble, and these other food trends. Young people can't get enough of ground beef with rice, cucumber salad, and girl dessert. And this is by Tatiana Bonencampe. If there's a teenager in your life, you might as well heard of boy kibble, the latest Gen Z food trend to take over TikTok and Instagram. The dish made of browned ground beef, rice, and basically whatever else you have on hand has inspired hundreds of posts since January. They've received close to 1 million views. Personalization is a major part of the appeal. In 2025, Mintel surveyed 36% of Gen Z participants said that they made their last great meal experience special was being able to order multi sauces and toppings. Gen Zers don't want one compost plate, says New York restaurateur Ande Flank. They want options they can mix, match, and control. Martha Stewart's cooking, this is not. Fast, cheap, and easy recipes are more likely to gain traction among young people, says Shannon O'Shields, an executive with Rubex Food, a food and beverage product development firm in Jacksonville, Florida. Consider other recent fads. Pseudo cheesecake made by submerging cookies in Greek yogurt, baked sweet potatoes stuffed with cheese, and taco bowls with cottage cheese. Such recipes also trend to be fairly healthy, featuring unprocessed protein packed foods. They reflect a trend of eating in a nourishing way, says Marie Bragg, Associate Professor of Population Health at the NYU Grossman School of Medicine. That's not on the menu for teens and 30 some oh, I'm sorry, what's not on the menu for teens and 30 somethings? Anything stuffy like caviar, truffle oil, or foie gras. For a generation sometimes derived for its sense of privilege, there's a refreshing simplicity and wholesomness to these recipes built for social media culture of an I'm sorry, imagination and alliteration. The only real faux pas, according to Dizzy Dash, is blandness. Dizzy, a 27-year-old New York-based lifestyle creator, emphasized that salt and pepper are not enough seasoning to pass the Gen Z flavor police. But don't worry about chopping onions and garlic. Too much work. Lizzie says instead, onion powder and garlic powder will do just fine. Here, a primer on 3 trends, plus an easy boy kibble recipe. The boy kibble, popularized by TikTok Christian Miles in January 2026 because of its vague resemblance to pet food. Boy kibble has also been embraced by young women and is sometimes called human kibble. The dish contains plenty of protein and can easily customize with different vegetables. Carrots, for instance, can be swapped in for sweet potatoes and seasoning. I could throw a Korean barbecue sauce or a sriracha from my refrigerator on it, says Carson Gillespie, 28, a mustached content creator in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, with about 700,000 followers across TikTok and Instagram. It takes Carson, who is known for his videos on running and baking sourdough bread, about 30 to 40 minutes to cook up a batch of ground beef and white rice mixture. I'm not going to win a Michelin star for it, but it's going to feed me, be healthy, and I can make 5 different meals out of it, he says, adding that it can get away with spending $100 a week at the grocery store. Girl Dinner and Dessert. Girl Dinner was popularized by Olivia Maha in May 2023 when the Los Angeles based podcast host and content creator posted a video of containers spread across her counter filled with everything from leftover cheese and grapes to pickles and popcorn. It's about eating to please yourself, Mahar said of Girl Dinner, a term she currently is trying to trademark. On TikTok, the hashtag Girl Dinner now has more than 2.8 billion views. A concept of making a meal from a desperate item has seeped into other courses. People now nosh on steakatory cutting boards arranged with steak, eggs, and guacamole. Girl dessert, meanwhile, can either refer to a single serving recipe for, say, peach cobbler or chocolate cake, or to an array of different treats like popcorn, chocolate, and candy combined in a bowl. Ariana Wilding, 25, a content creator in Long Island, New York, assembles her girl dessert using chocolate covered pretzels, fruit riot, mango, frozen fruit dipped in a sour candy shell, and a fruit snack. I have free will, she says. Cucumber salad. Gen Z's obsession with cucumbers was fueled by Logan Moffat, 25, a content creator in Ottawa. On a whim, Moffat, a self described very experimental cook, started posting quick, easy salad recipes on TikTok in July 2024. His original recipe, featuring a sliced cucumber, soy sauce, MSG, sesame oil, sugar, and a few other ingredients, have been viewed more than 12 million times. Many cucumber salad recipes nod to Asian flavors. Other variations he has made include riffs on California roll and a smoked salmon bagel, have also gone viral. The trend appeal has to do a lot with the star's ingredients accessibility. Cucumbers are cheap, says O'Shields. She adds that they are good blank canvases for various flavor profiles and can carry creamy hot pickled sauces. Motif praises their healthiness and hydrating qualities. Everyone's trying to get into their greens, he says. You've been listening to the reading of articles and features from Saturday, Sunday, May 16th, 17th issue of Off Duty from the Wall Street Journal. We read from Off Duty every Saturday now at 8 p.m. Your reader has been Patricia Mary. Thank you for listening. God bless and be safe out there.
Coming up next on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have Sports Illustrated. Following that at 10 o'clock, we have The Athletic. And at 11 o'clock, we have episode number 7 of King Sorrow by Joe Hill. Stay with us for these readings and more. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which may